Well, it's 3 points for Sunderland at Pride Park. They had to dig deep, but they ultimately go back to Wearside on a winning note, Danny.
Yeah, you have to dig in at times. We mentioned it there, didn't we? Obviously, we're trying to debrief what's happened with that second goal. We think we got to the bottom of it. We'll obviously talk about it in a minute. But no, credit to the boys. Yeah, started slow, I think, again this evening. But coming to the game, one or two half chances, really. I think Dennis had the one over the bar. Isidore the strike from distance, and then as soon as we get the goal from Isidore, just took control of the rest of the first half. Setting off a little bit edgy, credit to Derby. They come out, obviously had to have a go, made a few changes. Back at Taylor down the left hand side, some decent deliveries into the box. So we have to dig in at times. That's what you're going to have to do throughout the course of the season, and especially the defenders getting back on the bus. I've been there, you go away, a gritty 1-0 win on the road, you can't beat it, and a massive 3 points.
Do you think it was fortune, or maybe just that showing of quality, or maybe even belief from Sunderland compared to Derby, given recent form and the stark differences? Do you feel it was a combination of all of those that contributed to the narrow win?
Yeah, no, I think it was. Yeah, I think sometimes we rode our luck. I think their main threat came from balls coming into the box. We had the warning in the first half, the two set pieces. Forsyth should have done better with his header, really. And then setting off, Salverson, wasn't it, come off the bench. He had a couple of headers himself. And Anthony Patterson, body's in there scrambling around. We're having to clear it. It wasn't pretty at times, but can't always be pretty. You have to dig in, roll your sleeves up, and as they say, you earn the right to play football, earn the right for the victory. We've done that. As I say, in amongst it, one or two performances. I think Dan Neil for me was excellent. A little bit of calm in the storm at times, really, just trying to put his foot on the game. And then obviously you bring Patrick on towards the end to try and sort of run the clock down, do his stuff at the top end of the pitch. And then obviously Wilson thinks he's going to got the second one where we can then sort of relax a little bit, but it's chalked off, and well, we're going to have a look at it in a minute and try and debrief it.
We will do indeed. Yeah, we're going to cut across to the highlights of the game, the best of the action from Pride Park, and of course Sunderland did get the win in the end, but it didn't always come easy. Here's some of the chances.
Yeah, and there's the one we mentioned really. I think it was 8.5 minutes when we had this chance. Lefay getting in down the left, combining with Dennis, cuts it back. It's sort of bobbling into him a little bit, and he just gets under it slightly, Dennis, and blazes it over the crossbar. But it sort of got us on our way really, because we were a little bit lethargic to get going again this evening, as we were on Friday down at Turf Moor. But when you're not quite at it and you're not firing, you've got to stay strong at the back and stay organised. And for all the ball they had early on Derby, they didn't really create anything from open play. And as we said there, Dennis had that one opportunity, and that one there, listen, it's not even a half chance, is it? It's a decent strike from Wilson from distance, but that's a good opportunity from Forsyth there. He's 6 yards out, and he sees it all the way. There's not real contact on him from Dennis until he's had the header. And then here's the goal now. So we give a loose pass away there from Chris Rigg, but credit to him, he goes after it, he wins it back. You see 3-4 Derby players there, a little bit static, into Joe, he's driving forward, tries to play it into Isidore's feet. Elder gets it a bit too tight and misses the ball, and then Meander's there free behind him. Good first touch out of his feet. Forsyth tries to get across on the cover, but he's too late, and it's a good comfortable finish through the keeper's legs, and that's the difference. That's the 3 points in the bag.
Yeah, I mean, it shows that quality as well and that tenacity from Chris Rigg. He lost the ball on the halfway line, then immediately won it back, and it was the architecture of the goal.
It is, yeah, good reaction. Sometimes you can see a player give the ball away and then they look at the sky, they're waving their arms around, puff the cheeks, all those types of things, but no, he doesn't. He goes after it, and he's on the front foot, and as I say, I think it's Wilson, he catches on his heels a little bit, nips in front of him, regains possession, and then he gets us on the attack again into his partner there, Job, in the middle, and then Meander does the rest. This one here now, a little bit of skill from Lefay there, feeding it across, looking for Meander, and at this stage now, I remember this is where we settled into it a little bit. We were having a lot of ball in Derby's half. Centre backs were on the halfway line, ready for anything that got cleared. Derby couldn't get out, couldn't get any real possession, and it looked like we were going to go and get the second. But here's another one. Here's another threat here now. Ball in again. Doesn't really get enough contact on that one there. I think it's Adams up from the back, wasn't it? And then here we go now. Setting off, Derby try a short corner, doesn't come off, and we've seen this before from Wilson down at Hull, where he did manage to put the ball away that day for the 3 points. This one does everything right up until there. I think just runs out of steam perhaps a little bit there, doesn't he? And that's it. It's Gumain, isn't it? Just gets back at him, does enough in front of his keeper to get the block in. So credit to him, yeah, chased him all the way back and gets the block in. Blackett Taylor in the action now off the bench, and he's put 2 or 3 good balls in a few minutes, and you can see here now we're getting 6 or 7 bodies back there, and then Derby have made a couple of changes. Salverson header, difficult one for him. He's going away from goal to try and generate the power onto the header, try and put it back there. And I think a combination of Chris Mepham and Anthony Patterson managed to get it clear. But you can see now, you can hear the crowd as well. Derby full of it now, a little bit of energy behind them. You see, but nothing from their point of view, just dropped. You know, those second balls dropping down. Fortunately, from our point of view, it dropped for a Sunderland shirt. It really goes again, jinking his way through, strike away, palmed out, and then we were on the ropes a little bit, and we were thinking, are we going to make a change now? And he did react, didn't he, Regis? He made a couple of changes. Dan Ballard coming on at the back in a minute, and Patrick Roberts as well, not on the pitch at this moment. Brown off the bench with a header, almost with his first touch, and here's the goal now. So let's have a look. Certainly not offside. Look, far side there, ball flipped forward, onside. You can see there, Forsyth is appealing. It's not, flag stays down, it's not offside. Lefay there, the only thing we think it's been given for handball. Look, two are appealing it there. Whether the fourth official's got involved or whatever, I'm not sure if he's got a monitor to see it back. If he has given it for offside, for handball, against Lefay, it's harsh. He's a yard away, he's blasted at him. I'll go back to one a couple of weeks ago. Joe Linton for Newcastle against Spurs, smashed at him from the yard, didn't get given, ended up in a goal. Same situation there. So for me, it's never been a handball. He smashed it at him from a yard away. Look, yes, it's popped up and it's a great strike from Wilson down into the turf, in off the underside of the crossbar. So the goal should stand. So it's a harsh one. Got to be honest, yeah, if that's what it's been given for, as far as we know.
Yeah, Wilson Isidore will be wondering what he'd done in a previous life at this point.
Yeah, he will be, yeah.
I mean, fortunately for Sunderland, it didn't matter too much in the grand scheme of things, but they really had to dig in to see out the win as a result.
Yeah, but listen, if it's given, it's 2-0, and then maybe the mentality of the Derby players, that's gaming on, but while you're always goal behind, they're still in there, aren't they? So then we get a little bit edgy, dropping a little bit deep, then they start throwing a few balls forward and it's dropping about, but no, it's a bizarre one. I'm not sure. Is he give? I don't even think he's disallowed it at that stage there. And then Derby later on, Brown again with the strike. He feels it's a corner, but it chokes it past the post. So yeah, listen, we got over the line. Should have been 2-0 if I'm honest. But listen, clean sheet, 3 on the bounce in the league for the lads at the back. Credit to them. And then we managed to get one at the other end.
I mean, it's 4 points from 2 tough away games in the space of 4 days. Would you have taken that before Friday?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think, you know, even looking back, if you're saying being greedy, 6 points, we probably deserve 6 points. I think yes, we shaded it tonight. They've had a few half chances, haven't they? Really, but then you've got 4 on the board, and now you've got Plymouth coming to the Stadium of Light at the weekend. So it's not a given, but you'd fancy 3 points there, and 7 points isn't a bad return in a week. Yeah,
of course, it's certainly not a given with Sunderland's away result down at Home Park, which seems a long time ago now. But of course, Plymouth will try and provide a threat. They've got their new manager now, Muznic, and I mean, he gave a rousing speech to his players the other day, and it seems like it's going to be very different from that sort of short-lived Wayne Rooney era. Plymouth will try and provide a challenge, but as you say, there is it a case of Sunderland showing that quality and coming out on top? Really?
Yeah, well, I think so. Certainly at home in the league, we're unbeaten, aren't we? Yes, we had that sort of blip against Stoke in the cup, really. Obviously made a lot of changes, so you put that one aside, really, but we're undefeated in the league. So yeah, back here at the Stadium of Light, as I said there, good return on the road, 2 tough away games, really. Then you're following up, you're back on your home patch. You will fancy us, we're in favourites going into it, but of course, stranger things have happened in football, so turn up again. A lot of, as I say, distance on the road, obviously travelling back and to the away grounds. And you hope the lads have got enough in the tank. Will he look to make 1 or 2 changes? We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, adrenaline can get you through these types of games. You know, we've been there. You know, my time at the club where we came from behind and went on to obviously get promoted. It's thick and fast. You mentioned it earlier. You think you've got through the Christmas period, but then you're at it again. Well, Friday, Tuesday this week, isn't it? You get the midweekers coming into it. But when you sat where we are, we're not going away. We're staying with the pack, and we're just getting it in our ears that Sky have come through and said it was a handball. So yeah, not for me. No,
we've heard all sorts. It's like a Cluedo case at the moment. Fortunately for Sunderland, Derby didn't manage to grind out that equaliser. A place where a last-minute equaliser was scored was the Den, where Millwall were 2-0 up against Cardiff. That's now ended 2 apiece, and Alex Neil, of course, now Millwall boss. It's really a scrap down there, and those dropped 2 points for Millwall could mean so much come the end of the season. And that can be the case for any team, whether it's up in the business end or down down towards trying to avoid going into League One, isn't it?
Well, it's exactly that. And back onto Plymouth, prime example is they're fighting for their lives. I said earlier on, it looks like they're getting cut adrift slightly. Obviously, the goal difference isn't great either, but they've still got to fight. As you say, new manager come in, he gave them that Braveheart speech there, didn't he, in the meeting room to try and get them going. And if he can get a reaction out of them, and they string 2 or 3 results together, then they might be able to just pull it back in with the rest of the pack.
17 games now to go of the league season, if my calculations are right, or it might be 18. I think it's 18, played 28. So in that sense, how would you divide those games up into blocks? Because we've talked about how rigorous the schedule is.
Yeah, some managers that I've been there, so some managers like to sit in the meeting room, they'll put it in little blocks of maybe 4 games or 6 games and think, realistically, what are we looking from there? And obviously, if you don't get to your total, really, or what you're looking to get, your target, then maybe that where we're going to make the points up, really. I personally, it's not for me that. I just think focus on the next game. Yeah, we've chalked one off tonight. We've gone down there perhaps as favourites, tougher than what we thought, had to dig in, got the points on the board. Plymouth, we're going to be favourites at home. It's not a given, stranger things have happened, as we said there, but can they get the result? And we've got to keep putting pressure on. Sheffield United, Leeds and Burnley are going to keep looking at us thinking, are they going to go away? Well, we're not going away. We're into the deep part of the season now. We've still got to go to Leeds, as we said earlier on. We've still got the teams just in behind us to play as well. So it's all to play for. We've got to keep on chalking off the results.
And speaking of results, if we just go to the results and scores around the grounds in the Championship tonight, of course, there are games to be played tomorrow as well. But we'll take a look at proceedings tonight. Of course, there's those 4 games tomorrow, but if we're having a look here, Coventry with a fantastic win at Blackburn, 2-0. I mean, we saw over the festive period how tough a place Blackburn is to go. Yep. We of course got that win at Derby County, a massive hard-fought 3 points. QPR with an away win, they've really turned their form around against Hull there. Middlesbrough beating Tony Mowbray's West Brom in his first game back in charge. Oxford there against Luton. I mean, Luton had the lead there, but they can't get anything going for them. And Oxford have managed to come away with all 3 points. They're not having a bad season. And Sheffield United, that one is key for us tonight. They were 1 down at half-time. Swansea went down to 10 men as well early in the second half, and they were made to pay for it. Sheffield United with the 2-1 victory in South Wales. We'll have a little quick discussion about that in a moment. Watford and Preston. Preston, big win for them at Vicarage Road. And Millwall and Cardiff, of course, with those dramatic late heroics for Cardiff. We'll have a look at the league table, and then we'll discuss briefly the Sheffield United threat, as it were. They now top the league with 58 points. Leeds, of course, play tomorrow. Burnley can go back ahead of us with their game in hand, but then Burnley and Leeds face each other on Monday after we've played Plymouth. Now, Danny, what do you make to the updated table after we take a breath?
Yeah, it's leapfrog, isn't it? Because we're never all playing on the same day. You see, was it Leeds playing against Sheffield Wednesday the other day after us, and you're thinking, and then obviously they'll see Sheffield United going above them, and it's back over to them. And as you say, Burnley currently down into 4th. They've got to go and get a result tomorrow. Obviously, the goal difference is a little bit ahead of ourselves, but then you've got that nice cushion now. Look at ourselves, 10 points down to Middlesbrough in 5th as well. So you'd say without a major drop-off, we're nailed on for a playoff place, wouldn't you? But it's can we go the distance and keep fighting and slogging it out with those other 3 sides at the top?
We'll have a look at the bottom half table as well, because Derby County, of course, with their 5th straight league defeat tonight, now slipped to 5th bottom. And of course, you've got Portsmouth there with 2 games in hand on them, because their game against Millwall back in November was called off 10 minutes before kick-off. Plymouth, of course, have to play Burnley and then ourselves, which doesn't look great for them. But again, the Championship unpredictable, Danny.
No, it is, yeah, exactly that. As you say, we're obviously focused on the top from our point of view in the club, but yeah, you look at that down there, it's a right old scrap, isn't it? And you can imagine that table as it was live tonight, and all the places are chopping and changing, and you're still, Millwall probably 17th, aren't you? Looking down, then there's a little cushion of 3 points up to Preston. Good result for them this evening, but it's all to play for, isn't it? Really, as I said there, in terms of Plymouth, they're looking at that. Yes, they've got a game in hand, but they're 5 points plus the goal difference off it, so it's almost 6 points really. So it's an uphill task. But as I say, new manager might come in and get a reaction from them. We'll have to wait and see. Hopefully it doesn't start this weekend at the stadium. But yeah, you keep looking at it, and that's going to keep on chopping and changing. And all those clubs will be there, and they'll all be saying in the meeting rooms, out on the training pitch, if we can get on a little bit of a run, just string 2 or 3 wins together, you're up to 12th or 11th, and it looks a whole lot better for them. Yeah,
it's all about consistency, isn't it? And as for Plymouth, you mentioned there, hopefully their run doesn't start against us at the weekend, of course, but it's a bit of a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because we want them to do us a favour against Burnley tomorrow night.
Yeah, go and get a result. Obviously, look at it from our point of view, we're going to have that extra day's rest, really, and recovery in terms of that. They've obviously got the journey up, whether they'll fly up or come on the coach, I'm not too sure, but obviously anywhere from Plymouth is a bit of a trek, isn't it, really? So, obviously down at home park, you feel like you owe them one. I always say that earlier in the season, we had a bad 15-20 minutes in that second half and it caught up with us. Scrappy goals we give away. But you always think we owe them one. So, obviously, new manager, as we said, Wayne Rooney's done and dusted. Over to the new man.
Yeah, we mentioned before the game how it was the oldest squad in the league in Derby against the youngest squad in the league in Sunderland. Does that youthful energy have a sell-by date? I don't want to, of course, jinx it, but can Sunderland cope with the continuous schedule? And maybe Regis Lebris will have to look at his overall squad and give him perhaps more minutes to other players waiting in the wings.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, you've got to wait up. They'll obviously get back late this evening. Recovery day tomorrow, maybe a day off, and then back in Thursday. But they've got to wait up now. Obviously, the minutes they're managing there, Job, Chris Rigg in there, and sit middle of the park, especially. Excuse me. You're covering a lot of distance, putting a lot in. You see Job there, all those little short, sharp bursts he put in throughout a 90 minutes, and he may have a word with them and say how you're feeling. Doesn't matter how they're feeling mentally. They'll say they don't want to come out of the team. You're in a team there who's fighting at the top end for promotion. You've had a good result, you don't want to come out there because if someone steps in and puts in a great performance, then it's then hard for the manager to bring them out, you see. So they want to stay the distance. We've seen last year, yes, you've asked the question, I think it did catch up with us a little bit if we're honest. Obviously we dropped off massively. I can't see that happening this year, touch wood, without putting a kiss of death on it. But no, I think we've got enough in and around the squad, and they'll still be looking to add. I think top end of the pitch, that's there for everyone to see. Obviously Aaron Connolly moving on to Millwall, that frees up perhaps another spot top end of the pitch where they'll be looking. Help out, obviously, Wilson Isidore, and obviously Meander coming in this evening. Yeah,
February the 3rd is the transfer deadline. Without getting too much into it because of how unpredictable things are, and it tends to be a domino effect. It's quite a notorious window, isn't it, the winter one, the January one, to get business done because you're often having to rely on what other clubs do.
Yeah, and I think, and clubs aren't daft as well. They know, perhaps looking at Sunderland, if we go in for the striker, if you're looking to buy somebody rather than loan them, then obviously they're going to think, well, Sunderland are in for it. They're desperate to get a striker in now. They might obviously throw a few quid on it as well. Whereas you can tap into maybe looking at a loan from lads who aren't perhaps getting a bit of game time at a Premier League club. Who can they have a look at there? Maybe get someone in. But at the same time, you need somebody who's match sharp and ready to come in to hit the ground running, really. If they're going to come in 18 games to go, they need to be ready to go and have an impact in the team as well.
When we spoke, when we were last on together, it was in pre-season after that game against Eldense, the Spanish side.
Seems like a week ago, that.
It's absolutely rapid, these marathons of a season. But at the same time, so much has changed since then, so much has developed since then. Could you have predicted that Sunderland would do this well heading into the latter stages of January, 4th in the league and well in a promotion race?
No, I don't think so. If we're honest, I'm sat here and I think most Sunderland fans would agree as well. I think start of the season I would have said, where we finished last year was at 16th, 17th and dropped off. I'd probably took 10th or 12th, something around there really, maybe pushing playoffs at most. But massive credit to the boys. New manager comes in, you don't know how that's going to go. But yeah, just got experience. Obviously Chris Rigg, had gone back to Chris, had a bit of a taste of it last season. Joe pretty much had a full season, so he's got games under his belt at this level as well. And then obviously you've got one or two additions coming into it. Wilson, top end of the pitch. But yeah, I always say we've seen everybody now, so you see when we're at it, we're more than a match for anybody. There's not a game where I've come away from it thinking we were miles second best. For me, the Leeds game, they had a half an hour in that first half where they were decent. Other than that, I thought, no, we've been more than in any game this season. And then obviously when we're getting the likes of Romain Mundell back and Tommy Watson, Alan Brown, there's lads to come out of the treatment room. Adji Elise, obviously, is going to be a while. But when we get everyone back, and you're always going to have injuries, of course, throughout the season, every squad will do. But when we're getting everybody back and when we're at it, we can match anyone.
Yeah, some unbelievable players sidelined at the moment, and it's easy when they're out for a long time to not forget about them, but have to just crack on without them because that is the nature of the sport. In a league and in a sport in general where financial firepower and money rules the roost so much, we are in a promotion race against, let's make no bones about it, 3 teams with heavy parachute payments who can sign some unbelievable players. We've seen it with Sheffield United. They've got Ben Brereton Diaz on loan with a view to a permanent. They still have to have financial power to promise that. We're hearing about their pursuit of Tom Cannon. I know he's a player with a lot of admirers. So does that siege mentality as underdogs perhaps benefit Sunderland?
I think so, yeah. And again, we mentioned it before the game, didn't we? Where you listen to podcasts and other people are chatting about it, and they're not really mentioning us. You know, we're right in the cluster. I don't know how they can look at the table, and we're right in amongst it, and they're still not mentioning us really. But from our point of view, from the players, you don't mind that because it just takes the pressure off them a little bit. But quietly, as a group, they'll be confident, and they'll be looking forward. You know, when we go to Ellen Road, it's going to be a great atmosphere down there. Leeds will probably be favourites. They're at home. The way they play, they know they get after teams, full of energy, but we will get opportunities that night as well. So they'll go down there. I would say don't go down there and play with the fear. Go down there and enjoy it. Listen, if we get beat, so be it, but we're still going to be right amongst it.
Absolutely, and you know, the unpredictable nature of the league means anything can happen, and for Sunderland to have got this far, this group of players must be so much more confident than even at the start of the season with the clean slate.
Oh, I'd say so, yeah. A lot changing, obviously, you know, the captaincy going into Dan Neil as well, and Dan had a difficult start, he'll be honest and say that himself, but I think the last month or so he's been fantastic, just controlling it, and when he's on his game and dictating play, and there you see it again tonight. I thought he was our best player this evening. A little bit of calmness about him just ticks us over, and but the others feed off that as well, and there's young confident boys. I always say with younger players, you never know how they're going to go. Obviously they're earning their stripes in the game, and it's coming to a new club, some of the foreign boys as well, but get out there, give them game time, and it's shown. Youngest team in the league, as you just said there. One or two, obviously Alexis should be looking for a little bit more game time, and again something I think now will Regis weigh it up moving forward over the weekend possibly. Obviously I don't think he likes to change it too much if it isn't broken, so to speak, but maybe he's going to have to look at the bench a little bit more coming into the sort of final furlong of the season really.
And a word for the travelling supporters. Yeah. Absolutely ruled the noise at Pride Park, and not only that, just there seems to just be a unity around the fan base, and there's been years where that's been understandably lacking, and there's been some turbulent times, but now it just seems like a massive light at the end of the tunnel and a huge road and an avenue to move forward. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, obviously we had the dip last season, second half of the season, but you know, over the last couple of seasons since we come back from League One, you know, almost got up, fell short coming up against Luton. Some fantastic football under Tony Mowbray, and obviously we've had one or two managers since then. It hasn't quite worked out, but obviously Regis has come in now, and well, everything at this moment in time, it is going well for us, isn't it, as a club? And as you can see that with the fans again, 2 tough away games, fantastic following down at Turf Moor Friday night. The same again, looked like 3,000 there. Voices, you know, you can only hear the Sunderland fans really, if we're honest. Obviously Derby are having a tough spell, aren't they? But they're enjoying it again. You know, they've had some tough times, as you mentioned. Was it 4 seasons in League One? Couldn't get out of there. Finally got out of there in the end, and now we're almost, you know, on the verge of getting back to the Premier League. Still a long way to go. Don't get too excited just yet. We're still fighting our corner, but hopefully we can get there.
And Regis Lebris in his first experience of English football. There's a lot of foreign managers who come in and they don't quite understand maybe the English culture of playing and sort of enforcing rules onto a squad. It might not get the message through. We've even seen it in the Premier League, but Regis has really tapped into what Sunderland are all about. It seems to have a fantastic dynamic with the board as well, and the message is clearly getting through to the squad.
Yeah, I think so. I think it helps as well that, you know, obviously Mike Dodds and Mike Proctor were still around it. They know the lads really well, and I think it always helps when a new manager comes in. Sometimes a club clear everybody out, then bring a new manager in, he brings in 4 or 5 staff, and they don't know the players, and then obviously they're trying to take time to get to know them then through pre-season, and they get their methods across to the players. Whereas obviously you can tap into Mike Dodds and find out the character of the players. Day to day out on the training ground is where you find out what your players are all about. So he's done that obviously. He comes across as quite a quiet guy. You know, you never really see him ranting and raving on the touchline. You know, you look at the likes of Corberan, who live and breathe the game in the technical area, probably cover 10k. Whereas Regis, he's always out there, but he's just got the arms folded. He's quite relaxed as a character. And I don't know what he's like in the changing rooms. You know, you have to ask the lads if he throws the teacups and the kettle goes and the lot. But he's come in and everything's gone well for him. We had that sort of a tough spell. We weren't losing games, but it was at 4 or 5 on the bounce when we were drawing games, weren't we? And that was our so-called rocky spell, really. But we've come through that now. Obviously, that one defeat at Stoke was a blip in recent weeks, wasn't it? But other than that, everything's gone well for us. So it's going to be a tough, 18 games or so. We maybe have 1 or 2 more blips along the way, but you know, I'm confident in us. I always say I'm confident we can get the job done when we turn up.
Absolutely. Sunderland have managed to get 3 huge points at Derby, and who knows how integral they could be come the end of the season. It was men against boys at Pride Park, and the men didn't stand a chance. Join us again soon on SAFC Live. It is Sunderland against Plymouth Argyle on Saturday. Thanks for listening and good night to you all.